Hey guys, this is Dana Morales. I'm doing my case study on the Four Seasons hotel chain. This chain is a luxury hotel chain, which is possibly one of the most pristine hotels chains in the world. It was founded by a man named Isidore Sharp. He's from Canada. He designed a motel for a friend. Basically, he did the whole architect work himself, and he really liked it. It was a resort style in Toronto in 1961. He hadn't looked back since then. The company went vertical in London. That's when it started becoming more of a high-class chain. They haven't always been successful, as some outside events have taken a hit to their success. The biggest was probably the 9/11 tragedy. That was a direct reaction because of the collapse of the travel industry right after that. Not only is the Four Seasons hotel chain is a luxury hotel chain, but they also offer a private jet service. Basically, they have multiple trips planned throughout the year to various countries and different locations. It's basically for the elite social class. Trips start at about $100,000 per customer. So basically travel around in this high-class jet with a private chef on board, all you can eat and drink. You stop at the finest hotels in your landing places, finest food service everywhere you go. Everything's included with $100,000, so it's very fortunate if you can afford it. But that's just part of the Four Seasons, the way they go about their business. They want to be the best in everything they do. So that was one way for them to establish themselves in a different market other than hotels. Now, the situation that was addressed in the case study was that the Four Seasons was trying to get really their name in the game outside of America. They wanted to get into Paris, and the biggest thing for them was to find a place to build a hotel. Now in Paris, they're very particular about the hotels that they actually let, be created. And so, fortunately, there was a hotel at the George V. It needed renovating, and Four Seasons was contacted to do the renovation. Obviously, they saw it as a huge opportunity for them, and they decided to renovate. So basically, it was pretty much one of the harder things to do is to get into Paris, but since they had a stellar resume and all the different hotels they had built up into that point in America, such as the New York one they just opened a couple years before this, in this time, it was basically their time to put the North American footprint in the French society. They could have renovated and very clearly reflected the George V, interior and everything that they already had before then. Although now it was time to, put their spin on it and kind of make their impact in Paris and try to see if they can build a resume off there as well. So every hotel that the Four Seasons has is different than the other one, and they have a bunch of hotels around the globe now. But I mean, from Paris, when you go into the one in Paris, you're going to know you're in Paris. It's very modern, it's very unique. If you go to a hotel in India, you're going to know you're in India from the way that the people dress. The employees, from the interior decorations, the food that they have, the kind of chefs they hired, everything about it is very personal, and they cater it towards every customer as well. So the idea for them to coming into Paris was that they needed to figure out how to best suit the French, obviously because most of them would be French, but also give more of a touristy vibe, but without losing that culture that the French have developed. So the situation was to get in the Paris scene, to make their impact on the French people and in Paris itself, and to accomplish the objectives they set before them. These objectives were to set the tone for their company outside of America, making the impact again, and to accurately reflect the mission statement of the Four Seasons Hotel. And that mission is to provide crisp, knowledgeable, friendly service, and to serve the guests' time and dedication to finding the most suitable accommodation for the guests. Integrated marketing communications helped them in a couple ways for sure. One way is that how well they developed their brand. When you think of the Four Seasons hotel chain, if you know what it is at least, you think about luxury. And going into the Paris scene is especially important to have that luxury tag with your name. They pair that direct emotion with the luxurious personal experience that a guest thinks of every time they hear the name of the Four Seasons. So the cost was high to get this tag with them. They had to invest a lot of money to develop this kind of luxury for their hotels. But in the end, I think it paid off, considering they're pretty well off now, The end just justified the means for sure. There's a lot more labor laws you have to take under consideration when you're working in France. I know they have a 35-hour work week. While they were building these, that definitely came into play in the building, renovating, and also moving forward from that time. To go along with the luxurious brand that they developed for themselves, they had to hire luxurious managers too. The guy they hired to be the general manager of the hotel goes by Le Calvis. He was basically a guy that has a bunch of experience both in New York, Chicago area, as long as over 20 years living in France, experiencing high-end hotels and working in them as well. He seemed to be the best fit for the job, considering his experience. He did work in the Four Seasons in New York as well, as long as different hotels in France at different times, so he has experience in both countries. I think this hire definitely helped them balance out the difference between the North American society and the French culture. Typically, North Americans are known as monochronic. This basically means that they pay a lot of attention to detail, scheduling. Their days are packed together. They're always networking to schedule events. The French, however, are opposite. They are polychronic. Basically, they do a lot of things at one time. They multitask. They don't have to pay that much attention to promptness, especially if you're a close friend. That a lot looser boundaries with that. Heading into the French scene, definitely a problem for North American builders. The labor workers that are French are going to have different schedules, as well as there's a 35-hour work week that's put into play in this time period as well. So now there's different things going on that they kind of have to balance out entering into the French scene for sure. It kind of goes along with the fact that they developed their brand so well that these minor issues ended up being less of an issue, as you can see from the success. Another way they use IMC is purely integrating their culture into the French culture. Typically the French see the Americans as smiley, happy, and also refer to them as La Culture Mickey Mouse, basically making fun of the fact that they're so goofy, happy, and almost too nice. So the Four Seasons mission was to treat the guests in the best possible way. In America, they treat the same way they do in France, so they're hoping that was just going to stick along. So one thing that I would change in the way that they went about their IMC advertising is I would actually have them advertise their chef a little more before the opening. They had a chef that had 2 Michelin stars, which is a huge deal in the culinary arts realm. The chef Legend Dre was his name, and I think that they could have used that to their benefit a lot more, and used that to build up their marketing base as well. Now on the question of how I would use my ideas to integrate marketing communication for this company, I didn't see a whole lot in the case study or in the research that I did outside of it about how they marketed the hotel in general. But what I would do is I would try to make connections with the Prime Minister or the President of France at the time and see if we can do a grand opening with him there, just try to make a bond between the Americans and the French, to show that we respect their culture, to show that we're trying to build within the French society and their culture as well. I think that would build a great bridge between the two societies, and I think that would help their marketing a lot. And that finishes up my case study. Thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate it.